Welcome to the Hawkeye Sidekick podcast.
Is now on Europe, and I suppose we maybe kind of twist and shift to that, Liam. We start on Friday night down in Cast. I think we know what to expect from our French hosts anyway on Friday night.
Well, we kind of do, don't we? We kind of do know what to expect from Cast of all the French sides, you know. They're going to bring us down to their level. It's going to be an absolute dogfight for sure, and it's going to be probably something like 21-18 or something like that in the end. I just saw the highlights there of their game against Stad, and penalties, a few drop goals. It was a good solid performance, all right, yeah.
Yeah, they did have to kind of, I did have the pleasure of seeing the full game on Friday night. For any Munster fan that wants to really watch it, do, because you'll probably fall asleep after 20-25 minutes because the quality in line breaks wasn't there. It was very attritional. It was very physical, and 6-3 at half time. And again, they were backs against the wall, particularly in that last few minutes. When you consider their performance against La Rochelle when they won 31-30, they showed a new dimension to them that I was kind of a little bit shocked about. But this was your typical Cast, you know, literally arm wrestle, pack, territory, platform, paramount. But they were literally on their line 5 metres out for the last 3 to 4 minutes. Our mate Rory Crockett gets sin-binned. So then they're down to 14. And Stad really do absolutely cough up ball right at the end. You know, they'd have a little bit more composure. I think they would have been grabbing a result there because Cast, you could see the relief on the players' faces. So, yeah, it will be very interesting. I mean,
so Cast in terms of the top 14, they're in a good spot, aren't they?
They're in a massively good spot. They're in the top 6, I think, at the moment. I mean, they've had a very good festive period. They've pulled a few results out. The La Rochelle one particularly was a standout. I mean, the comeback win, I think that really did stun La Rochelle. So they've been stringing the wins together. Now, the big question mark here from a Cast perspective is what sort of side will they line out with? Because if they are getting very close to that Pro 14 summit, will they rest again marquee players? You know,
and we've had 2 games, right, in terms of Europe, and 2 to go. I mean, they have lost 2 games, you know, Cast. So, the mindset will be interesting to figure out. Can they actually even qualify for Europe?
So they're currently 2 points, 2 points right now. So there were 2 loser bonus points. You may recall that they lost narrowly to Harlequins at home. Marcus Smith inspired. But again, that wasn't a great performance of Harlequins either. They'll be the first ones to admit that. But they did get a result. And obviously it came to Thomond Park. We know the arm wrestle that ensued. And they got their loser bonus point. And they seem to be delighted with that, to be fair. Now, fact is, Cast at home they'll be competitive. They won't want to lose this game. So I suppose what are kind of key areas here for Munster, Liam, to kind of focus in on ahead of that game?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to front up basically. Like, so we have to get good ruck ball is hugely important. Hopefully to see a bit of a good line-out maul actually from us as well. Yeah, I think so. And scrum, hope to see our scrum going as well, you know.
Yeah, I think the ruck ball will be the key for us on Friday night. Cast do a very good job in terms of the breakdown defensively of really slowing down, killing down ball. So, you know, we're going to have to be at our best start. Kind of really, I think front 5 boys have to kind of set the tone, the platform straight off the bat. Otherwise, Cast, particularly if they're going to name a kind of a mixed selection of squad players and first team players here, because they do have to go to Harlequins in the last game. And I can certainly see them probably putting out a second string side there, because no way at that stage will, you know, if the result doesn't go their way, they will have no interest. So I think maybe imperative for us. Now, the weather conditions in Cast are supposed to be pretty decent. You know, it will be cold, -3, but again, it's a dry day planned. So maybe we see a little bit more from Munster, trying to kind of create maybe a little bit more attacking width on it. Maybe bringing in like some Murray, guys like that into the frame, Keith Earls as well, Conway. It'll be interesting to see the team selection for Munster Rugby, particularly. I suppose, you know, ideally maybe Ty Byrne, you know, may not have really played maybe too many minutes against Ulster, but fact that he has, I think we have to kind of trust him in here. But
Yeah.
I hope for our front five, and particularly our front row, to really set the platform. Just in terms of our scrum, they will be testing us massively there in the first 15, 20 minutes. If we can gain that momentum, I think, we should be relatively confident and start maybe putting points on the board here. I mean, not necessarily trying to kind of get try after try. Let's build up the board 3, 6, 9, 12.
Yeah. Let's get that 9 points ahead, 12 points. Yeah, exactly.
But the gaps will then form.
I think we can both see that that's exactly the way that game is going to go, It's going to be points, your points, their points. Yeah. But we, I'd obviously like to see Keith Earls back, And does Zebo now get sent off? Does that mean he can't be selected in for the cast again?
I would imagine there'll be a disciplinary hearing this week on that. So we'll probably await news on that. I'd say the finest biscuits and cups of tea and coffee will be out for that anyway. But I would say that Zebo is probably out of contention for the cast game. But all depends. There will be a disciplinary panel. I mean, it was a straight red, so obviously that has to be reviewed by a disciplinary panel. So
if Dale Ende apparently and probably O'Mahony would be out for that game. So then we're looking at a big selection there at centre as well, aren't we?
Yeah, I suppose you have to kind of say that maybe Rory Scannell, again, maybe front runner here a little bit, particularly who starts at 10 as well. It's going to be a big game for either Ben Healy or also Jack Crowley, whoever gets selected there at 10. So maybe you want a little bit more experience and maybe an additional boot there to kind of alleviate that pressure on the 10. I think probably. And
obviously, absolutely. And that Scannell Farrell is still a good combination actually as well,
Yeah, because I feel Chris Farrell is very close to producing a kind of a stand-up game. He's been unlucky in certain respects in terms of the attacking side of things, but I do feel that he feels himself that he has a strong performance in him to really dominate a game ball in hand. And it'd be nice if it could happen here, particularly in the European games, ahead of a Six Nations, to kind of get himself back on the shop window in terms of Andy Farrell's thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is also quite a crucial game to show the form of guys for Andy Farrell and Ben Healy. I think he's in there with a chance certainly of being at least a backup there for Ireland at out half. Yeah,
I mean it's kind of at the moment, because it really is up for grabs. It'd be interesting to see with Sexton as well, where he kind of comes in terms of his injury kind of status. I know Leinster maybe kind of roll into that, like that Montpellier game is still massively up in the air as we record this, just given the Montpellier pandemic crisis that's gripped through their camp last week. They had to kind of postpone their game. But I think Sexton, that injury status would be key. I mean, the Burns then kind of come into it. You never know. Again, Jack Carty as well doesn't seem to be kind of fancied by Andy Farrell for whatever reason. So, again, these next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely key, aren't they, Liam? You could get a bolter coming from nowhere to really impress and kind of get a surprise kind of inclusion. So,
I mean, we also have to remember too, Tadhg Byrne is an exceptional player, obviously, but he is not a starter for Ireland at the moment in the back row.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so stacked at the moment, though, Liam, isn't it? But
it is.
Particularly with the Leinster Rugby contingent as well. It's just the absolute abundance of talent there. Caelan Doris just going from strength to strength. Again, Jack Conan as well. You could name them all there in that Leinster squad. They just do such an effective job of Connors as well. Such an effective job of what they do. So, and again, for Andy Farrell, that's an absolute lovely position to be in, particularly back row. So, I mean, for Byrne, he's in that kind of unfortunate position where he can effectively operate in second row or back row. So he's got that versatility about him, but maybe, it might be kind of a selection where he's definitely in a 23-man squad going into a game. So it'll be very interesting, but again, I think it's up for grabs for a few of those Ireland positions, and hopefully Ireland will reap the benefits here with a few provincial wins, because I know Leicester Tigers are coming to Connacht here on Saturday, and locals are getting quite excited here on that. And
You have the big team from the Premiership. Yeah, absolutely. And wow, again, Connacht gave a very great performance for most of the away game in Welford Road as well. Yeah,
exactly. And the fact of the matter is with the Leicester Tigers as well, they dropped their first result against Wasps yesterday. Well, at the weekend, their first loss 16-13. So kind of coming off a loss. So we'll see how that impacts in confidence here. But Connacht, they've had a week off after their Munster Rugby win. Again, 3:15 here in Galway should be a great atmosphere with the crowd that will be in. So I think Connacht should take huge confidence from the Welford Road fixture. Just tighten up a little bit defensively, I think, in terms of their kind of discipline. But I would not be surprised to see Connacht getting a result there against Leicester.
Yeah. I think so too. I would call it for Connacht actually against Leicester. Yeah, I give a home win there. Probably losing bonus point for the Tigers.
Yeah, the Leicester Pack platform will be paramount there as well. There's an awful lot of big units there anyway. But again, if Connacht, and provided they can get a reasonably good day, they did really pose an awful lot of problems for Leicester, particularly when the game got a little bit broken and fractured. So again, it's do or die here for Connacht Rugby to get a result here, particularly at home.
I'm right saying, basically the home win there will drive them into qualifying, won't it? Pretty much.
They'll be in good position, but I think they would definitely need to get something out of their last game against Stade Francais. And again, with Stade Francais, where is their focus going to be? So, that kind of comes into the reckoning. But they would be in a strong position, certainly. But again, that 3 wins would definitely guarantee you some playoff rugby come April, May. 2 wins, you're kind of on the borderline here, really depending on results. So you don't want to kind of get that.
And do you know what's amazing is Connacht, you're talking about the European Cup, they've looked comfortable. They've looked to be at that level in their 2 games.
Yeah, look, the performances have kind of spoke volumes in the last few seasons. Don't fear anyone. They'll, particularly if their attacking brand rugby is great. Joy to watch. They've well and truly competed against various teams. It's never a nice place to actually go. Well, it's a lovely place to go anyway, but Sports Ground itself, in terms of fixture, it's not an easy place to come and get a result. You have to work hard for it. So, look, Stade Francais saw it in first hand there a couple of weeks ago. Came into Galway and got absolutely spanked. So, Connacht at home, they've made it into a fortress. And, this will be a key test for Andy Friend and the Connacht Rugby's side here. But they're fully capable of getting a result here.
Yeah. I think we'll give them the home win.
I think we'll give them the home win, but I think Leicester, they're, we've been in Welford Road, we've met an awful lot of Leicester Tiger fans. They're a very resilient and determined bunch. We'll give Connacht the win here, but I think Leicester Tigers won't be too far away. I think loser bonus point there, maybe kind of there. It could probably tight. There, particularly plenty of tries on board, and then Ulster Rugby going to Franklin's Gardens on Sunday as well, playing Northampton Saints. Again, the loss mightn't be a bad thing for Ulster here with Dad McFarlane focusing minds and really trying to improve their performance. And I think it might be key for Stuart McCluskey to get back into the 13 jersey here.
I suppose like they were in pre-match against Munster. Yeah, the loss of McCluskey was crucial when you actually look at it. That partnership of just him being so robust alongside Hume.
Exactly. They have that, very kinetic partnership there, Now, Moxham did anything wrong per se, but I think McCluskey just provides that absolute monstrous ball carrying ability that you need at 3/4 to really create the line breaks and create attacking platforms. So now Northampton have had kind of hit and miss in terms of Europe. Thought they were pretty dismal against Racing 92 and Franklin's Gardens, and Finn Russell kind of controlled the show from start to finish. But I think Ulster should be relatively confident in getting a result here. They've had a great start to Europe. It'd be an absolute crying shame if they couldn't really back up their Clermont-Auvergne win. earlier on in the campaign. So I definitely.
And again, three wins, essentially, in a row, they're qualified. Again, it's a massive motivation for them.
Exactly. They're almost looking at one of the top ranked sides, if let's say we get suspended in terms of, or the playoffs, that they're very much kind of getting a home draw in Ravenhill, Kingspan. So an awful lot to play for the Ulster, and plus with Claremont Auvergne also at home to finish this off. I mean, if they could get a win and even a bonus point win at that, I think they'll set themselves beautifully for a long, lengthy European Cup campaign.
Yeah, potential top seeds. Yeah,
exactly. Not out of the question here, Liam, because, I mean, the Leinster Rugby situation with Montpellier, I mean, if, when you consider the other fixtures, but again, if Montpellier get the walkover to 5 points, that's going to be absolutely hugely decisive, because Leinster conceivably could be one of these kind of really kind of dark horse teams, kind of a mid-pack.
Yes.
That, you don't want to be facing at home, particularly, in a last 16 fixture. So an awful lot of conundrums here. Might get a few home and away fixture kind of verdicts from you on the other games here, Liam. So
yeah, sure.
Cardiff against Harlequins. Who do you fancy on that one?
You'd have to say the Quins, Harlequins. Marcus Smith is just tearing up trees, isn't he, at the moment?
He is. They're playing a nice brand of rugby as well. Saturday then, Ospreys against Racing 92.
Hard to call, not. Racing, Racing way, for sure, yeah.
I think so too, In fairness to Toby Booth and Ospreys, they have improved this season. Again, Racing 92, Finn Russell, if he can get any go-forward ball, I think that's an away win. Bit of a grudge match this is started form here. Exeter Chiefs and Glasgow Warriors. Who do we fancy there in Sandy Park?
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, considering that Glasgow won the last game between them, and won quite comfortably. So that's actually a cracking game. Exeter, I mean, weren't they the team that were essentially going to, in general, the heirs to Saracens? I think it was kind of looked at like, Rob Baxter was the coach in England, and things have kind of fell apart a bit, for Exeter. I think they're well off the pace now at the moment in the Premiership as well.
Yeah, there has been kind of a few setbacks for Exeter. I think there's been a few injuries and pandemics, loss of form, but there seems to be a bit of needle. Like, I watched the return fixture before the Munster Cast game, and to be honest, like, the lead up to that game was pretty kind of fractious in terms of Glasgow to Exeter fans, and not to wear the tribal gear and all that sort of stuff, and it just it's kind of ballooned. Like, they've been meeting regularly in Europe, and I think there's a bit of a healthy rivalry gone on there. I think Exeter, look, if Exeter at all platform for me, no better team, 22 metres out, with them all to kind of get the job done. I think Exeter here, because they were really looking to kind of get back up there.
I give it Exeter with Glasgow to get a losing bonus point. Yeah,
exactly. And we have Ronan O'Gara's La Rochelle against Johann van Graan's future employment opportunity, Bat Rugby. I suppose it looks like a home win here.
It looks like a definite home win. It looks like a 25 point plus home win, really, doesn't it?
I think so. Maybe Johann can have a sneaky weekend trip to La Rochelle to see his new club in action, but doesn't look good there for Bath, does it? I mean, particularly with La Rochelle, particularly that 31-30 loss against Cass. They have kind of rebounded. I think there's a big performance there from La Rochelle at home. Always a tough place to go. So I think that's that one.
That's a fortress for sure.
Exactly. Wasps take on Toulouse. How do you fancy in that one?
Yeah, I mean, Wasps have some very good players when they get them back. That's the key, isn't it? So I think Wasps, give them a right good game, actually.
I think so too. But again, there's been worrying kind of news reports coming out of Wasps in terms of salary cap, having to kind of reduce the playing squad. Fekitoa
to Munster, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love the player, massive potential. I'm just looking at the injury record here. He's
still injured at the moment, isn't he?
He is. He's well regarded in Wasps, but he has been curtailed by injuries, and I'll just have that kind of warning sign on him just on that. But it does seem to be as Wasps are going to shed a few players to other clubs. Just given
if you think about it, what the Scarlett has got Fafita, a really, really good player. So they are offloading. They clearly are going to be offloading them.
But look, Toulouse, they've quality all over the pitch, don't they? So I'll probably go for them. But I think Wasps, they need to kind of provide a good stirring performance here because it has been a tough season for them. But I think Toulouse, I think they'll get the bonus bonus try here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've talked about Connacht, Leicester, and Bristol Rugby against Stade Francais.
Okay, Bristol and Stade Francais. Yeah, again, Bristol, big money team, aren't they? Probably the highest paid players in the Premiership, and they haven't kicked on themselves either, have they?
They're very up and down. They're a very Jekyll and Hyde team. For me, Liam. When they're on, they're absolutely phenomenal. But if they're not, they do cough up try-scoring opportunities. I mean, have they really recovered after that Harlequins playoff loss last season?
That was unbelievable. You know what I mean?
For me, that's a watershed moment for that club because I think Bristol Bears, everything was leaning towards them getting into the Premiership final. And dare I say, giving a good crack at Exeter Chiefs, and who knows, but they've had that hangover. There has been disappointing results this year. Now, Stade Francais, you just don't know with Stade in terms of what their kind of priorities are.
And the thing is too, I mean, even, when we're talking about Castres as well, I mean, you know what you're getting with Castres. You actually know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting with Stade Francais. Of all the French sides, they are the most up and down.
Yeah, I mean, back when we were starting to go like Stade Francais, Dominguez, they had a formidable pack, and they had a very efficient back line. But again, there's no real standout here. It's very, in terms of their brand of rugby, they're just really caught in two stools really at the moment from my liking, and that's been the case for the last few years. Again, I think it's a 50-50 game, this one, because again, we don't know what Bristol Bears team is going to come out in terms of their performance. I'd maybe hedge it to Bristol just purely because they're at home, but again, and Stade Francais as well may just decide to kind of maybe provide squad players with a bit more of an opportunity to impress here.
Yeah, it could become the game of the weekend, really, in a way. Yeah, absolutely. It could be the most open.
Yeah, because Bristol do like to play with wit, and the tries are never too far away from them. Then on Sunday, obviously we've Leinster Montpellier. Again, that's a big if. I'd say we will get more confirmation on that, but I think Leinster for me anyway. If this game, I know there's a layoff. I know the pandemic has kind of affected Leinster.
Yes, and it could show in their performance. They could be a bit of ring rusty, all right. But yeah, definitely Leinster to get over the line at home.
Yeah, I think it will be a good test to see, particularly from a management staff, how they've played this in terms of the inactivity, how the players are kind of going to perform here. I mean, Montpellier, there is question marks over the squad that's going to come up to Dublin if that is confirmed. But I think it's really down to Leinster Rugby's performance, and really, I think the first quarter will kind of indicate an awful lot there. I still look, the talent that's in that squad is more than enough, I think, to beat Montpellier. But again, if Leinster are a little bit inaccurate, give Montpellier a little bit of time to settle in, it might become a bit more of a difficult afternoon. But I think Leinster, for me, even though with the layoff, I think there's a bonus point there, victory for them.
Yeah, I go down with that.
Yeah, Northampton Saints Ulster, I think we've mentioned, and I think we're kind of strongly kind of favouring Ulster there, and maybe a bonus point as well, really, to kind of secure maybe a good kind of playoff berth.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I mean, Ulster are going to be pretty much top seeds, I think, yeah, after this weekend.
Exactly. And then finally, we have ASM Clermont Auvergne, JJ Hanrahan's club against Sale Sharks. So.
Yeah, that looks like a tasty fixture, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Sale always play well in Europe as well, actually. So that's a hard one to call, actually.
Now, it might be a little bit easier if the French, system, with this whole wrangle over South African citizenship to France. I know Sanderson, the head coach, was really kind of up in arms of this at the weekend, that if things were left as it were, that an awful lot of, all the South African contingent in Sale would be unavailable for the game. So again, that could be a fluid situation, but if they do have their players involved, they will certainly give Clermont one hell of a game, I think.
I think so.
You know, they have the physicality to do it, the skill set to really do pose an awful lot of problems to Claremont. And Claremont's form has been very up and down as well. I mean, you know, JJ is really impressed with Claremont, but there has been flashes of brilliance. But as with Claremont Auvergne, there has been kind of areas of video analysis.
I think Claremont can be flaky. I mean, they still every season lose a game in Europe that you'd be expecting them to win as well. Even this season, obviously, with Ulster. So, yeah. And Munster previously.
And again, I think it's a must-win for both those teams. I mean, whoever loses that is probably, you know, looking at a kind of an elimination here, to be honest. So, I think an interesting... I don't know who to call that one, to be honest.
I don't either.
And then finally, Bordeaux Begleys against Scarlets.
Yeah, Scarlets, yeah. Yeah, Bordeaux are quite a competitive team, aren't they now in top 14 rugby?
Got a meaty pack, you know, and again, it's the thing with the French teams. What's the priority here on the Champions Cup versus domestic form? Again, they certainly do have the squad here, and particularly at home. I think this could be a tough afternoon for the Scarlets. I would probably go for Bordeaux, but again,
I'd go for them too.
Yeah, it's you know, but Scarlets have been. You know, I do love the brand of rugby the Scarlets do play. But again, Bordeaux, that pack is going to literally, regardless of who is in for Bordeaux, it's going to be very pack platform intensive, building the phases, building the attacking opportunity and platform. And
they have a good out half.
well,
not bad.
Not bad, yeah. So I think from that perspective, you know, you have to kind of give it to Bordeaux here, to be fair. Yeah. Now, again, it's a big if. I think, you know, crystal ball, we'd love to see all these games go ahead, but I think Liam, you, me, four walls here. I think the fact of the matter is, I think maybe one or two of these may be victim of the pandemic. But again, it would be nice to see these fixtures play out, you know, in a natural fashion that are not really dependent on walkovers, stuff like that anyway. Because
imagine if we got to this stage, I mean, where Leinster Montpellier was awarded to Leinster, having the previous one. Montpellier awarded the match against Leinster. That would just be a total nightmare.
It's a total farce if that happens. Yeah. You could almost argue is the competition in disrepute already. If something like that increasingly likely may happen, it's almost like a gentleman's agreement. It's like, you know, we'll give you 5 points. I'll give you 5 points and shake hands and move on. But I think Leinster do have grievance, I would think, definitely on their postponement to Montpellier. They did have a 23-man squad. They had a management team waiting to go over to Montpellier. So,
and then the next day, wasn't it pretty much next day, all the other European games were ruled on, and they were you know, rescheduled.
Exactly. You know, particularly the Anglo-Saxon games, I think, have been kind of, they're looking to reschedule. So if that is the case, then what would be the difference here? I mean, yeah, I don't think we've heard the last of that, you know, Leinster Montpellier or Montpellier Leinster game, that first initial fixture between those two teams, because I think that would leave a bit of an unsavoury taste in the mouth.
Yeah, we're Leinster not to get a hearing on that.
I mean, everything's wide open after their decision then on the English French fixtures to literally have them rescheduled. So I mean, the precedent has been set here, Liam, I would think. So it will be interesting to see. But again, you know, it's very much, let's see how it goes, but hopefully now we'll get the full fixture of games there.
Yeah, crucial. Can I just say, add too, in terms of, go back to your man Van Graan.
Our mate Johann.
Just Victor Matfield, I suppose. I think it was actually probably in Afrikaans that he spoke there on Supersport, for the Munster Ulster game. And his quote, I might have it here somewhere, where he says, oh yeah, here we are. I spoke to Johann van Graan, and he said it was frustrating at Munster, as all the good players go to Leinster.
Yeah, that's a good old Victor put Johann in there. But again, it's, dare I say, it's kind of awkward. No, my viewpoint on this is Bat Rugby could have dealt with this a whole lot better. I mean, once upon a time, there was a gentleman's agreement where rugby clubs would decide when to confirm news of this nature. I mean, if a head coach is in one job and he's interested in another, why couldn't have this been delayed during the Six Nations? The fact of the matter is here, the Bat Rugby social media account, they're looking for a name. And they then just basically spring it out there. I think it was just poor. It seemed to be as if Munster were a little bit taken aback. I think you could see the player reaction immediately after.
Yes.
The lead up to a European Heineken Cup game, the timing was absolutely dog awful. And I mean, I think it's come out and it just came out too early too.
It's most unusual because it's only really after European games, isn't it? It's usually, as you said, kind of Six Nations time where players and managers announce in terms of next season if they're moving on.
Yeah, I think look, it's all part and parcel of professional sports. Managers, head coaches, coaching staff, they'll move from A to B from one year to another. But again, these announcements, we're in the era of social media. And for me, social media in this particular case is completely not suited to the purpose. I mean, be professional about it, let teams be professional, play out their fixtures. You'll have a lull of games here where you could literally have mentioned this, particularly mid-February, end of February. Yeah. I don't know what the clamour was to basically announce this so early. It seems
and then you see what happens is you're getting Van Graan then has to say the usual gushing things about Bath. They're a great rugby town and all that, and then of course that might sound a bit disparaging to Munster.
Yeah, it's it just doesn't sit well, and you think of that performance against Cass. I can, look, one of the factors definitely is that news. I mean, that deflates a group. I mean, you can work in an organization, any organization, if the person, the leader that you're basically reporting into work to complete work for tells you I'm off, you're going to second guess and you're going to be a little bit uncertain to say what's going on here, or what's the situation. It did create massive instability, and I think it's very unfortunate. I mean, the Matfield comments, again, I would kind of take them with a little bit of a pinch of salt, to be perfectly honest, but it is a very messy situation that Johann van Graan has found himself in, and particularly Munster Rugby, because it's that 6-month contract stipulation as well. The last 6 months can trigger off.
Wasn't that the same with Rassie, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he had the same clause. Yeah.
No, I thought the RFU particularly would kind of maybe box a little bit clever in terms of that. You saw it with Pat Lam as well. He went to Bristol Bears, I think, particularly when that January 1st bang, the triggered the clause. I'm very surprised at the RFU in terms of any other head coaching roles that you don't see that stipulation that, look, is there a flexibility here for a province to maybe kind of cut losses here, or maybe kind of release a head coach?
Yes.
They can't really do that now. I mean, compensation wise, everything else. I mean, if Mr. Van Graan, he will serve out the rest of his contract here. But again, it is, it's a bit awkward. We can't plan. We can't plan for next season because, Munster are going to have to come pretty quickly now with a head coaching announcement. I would say now within mid-February, early March, to really kind of set expectations of other players who may be sitting on the fence, wondering or not whether I will renew my contract.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of that, was it noticeable in the contracts that were announced today that Ben Healy signed a 1-year deal?
Yeah, that was a bit of a, there was always
a shock. To me, it was a shock.
Yeah, I mean, the 1-year contract doesn't really say much, does it? It's kind of keeping your options firmly on the table from a player and a representative's perspective. There's been that Scottish link as well, hasn't there?
In terms of what's went on this season, maybe it's understandable that he just wants to see what's going to happen for Munster next season.
Yeah, I suppose when he signed, you had Carberry there. You also had Jack Crowley. If Jake Flannery, we haven't even mentioned. I mean, God, do rate that guy enormously, and he needs to see a little bit of game time. I'd hope every rugby, when we're kind of back in URC action, we can see him in the flesh because he's an outstanding player. But again, it didn't say much in terms of a 1-year contract. Again, it was kind of probably providing a bit of flexibility to Healy and his representatives. If it didn't work out, could always look elsewhere. And I mean, there's always been that Scottish RFU link in terms of Healy, his ancestry, that sort of angle.
He'd be in there. I mean, he'd be in there probably as the Scottish number 2 straight away, like the second choice 10 probably.
Look, yeah, Glasgow or Edinburgh would be, you know, more than happy to acquire his services. Look at the kicking range. Look at the boot that he has. I mean, you know, that's a guy there that, and he still has massive potential still, you know, particularly in his game management. But again, you know, great prospect. So, yeah, it's just going back to your point. It's very unsavory in terms of with Van Graan at the moment. You could see the pressure is on him as well. You know, that pre-game interview with RT was just very, it's just very awkward. It's very uncomfortable viewing because I think he's being kind of literally put under pressure a little bit. I think it's just the whole announcement by Bat Rugby really has, you know, really taken the wind out of Munster sails. I think it's taken the sails out of Van Graan as well, contrary to what popular opinion. I think he's definitely under pressure. He looks like a man under pressure here.
Yeah,
even though the results have been, you know, okay, but I think it's, you know, it has taken a toll on him as well, and probably his family as well, for that matter. So I think for Van Graan, look, he'll be professional. He'll look to keep the structures in place, and then he departs in May, June, whenever the season ends. But I think from Munster Rugby's perspective, we need to start moving on. And I mean, Matfield, guys like that, they're all going to have an opinion.
But I mean, again, you know, we had this situation where he was offered a 2-year deal on the back of what exactly? Initially, Van Graan
took a punt. Took necessarily a punt off him based off recommendations from Razzie. You know, another kind of, you know, South African, you know, coaching heads, I would say. I mean, look, I don't think he's done, you know, a woeful job or anything like that. You know, I mean, the record, you know, he has appeared in a few European Champions Cup semi-finals. We flirted a little bit in terms of Pro 14, only to find our near neighbours up the road are literally head and shoulders ahead of us, particularly when it comes to the marquee fixtures. So he's found that very challenging. And I think
but then when he was recently offered a new 2-year deal, wasn't he, as well?
Certainly was.
And you'd have to question, not him now, you know, fair enough, he was offered a deal, why not take it, you know, but you'd have to question the Munster board as to why they offered him that deal in the first place.
It's a good point. Yeah, maybe they knew something that we don't. It's a tricky one, you know, just in terms of, you know, the ambitions of the club, all that sort of stuff. You would imagine Van Graan would have had to sit down with Ian Flanagan and the board to really look long-term vision. You're not looking 1-2 years, you're looking 3, 5, 10 years down the line of the structures and stuff like that. Maybe Van Graan has basically reached a decision that he's taking the team as far as he can go and he needs a new challenge. That's, you know, always kind of a, you know, key point in a head coach's career. Like, you know, signing into another long-term deal, you know, it may be a new challenge for him is probably, and you never know with Bat as well. They may have been throwing, you know, money at him to, you know, more money. And again, I wouldn't envy him that role because Bat Rugby at the moment are a bit of in chaos at the moment, playing squad-wise and performance-wise on the pitch. Not great. But yeah, it's an interesting one name, to be fair.
Yeah. And as I said, in terms of Bat, I mean, you create a situation where they are. Oh no, I have to correct myself there. As I understand, there won't be any actual relegation for next season. Isn't that right?
Aren't they lucky?
Yeah.
I mean, they're the relegation fodder at the moment. You know, nothing. You know, their performance against Leinster was just, you know, it was just video nightmares. You know, literally all, you know, defensively. You know, the pack was decimated, you know, by Leinster. They just ripped through them in the first 20-25 minutes. This is what Van Graan is now going to have to work with in 2.5-3 months to get. And
I think what I've heard is that obviously Anthony Watson is thinking of moving elsewhere, and that'll be probably his number one thing, isn't it?
Look,
get him signed. Yeah.
And look, you can't argue Anthony Watson. He's been a loyal servant to that rugby club. And look, we've been to Bath, we've been to recreation grounds. It's a super town. I mean, the rugby lives and breathes in that town. And the fact that, you know, when you think of the John Callards, the Jeremy Guscotts, going to Europe, winning matches, very much like the Munster brand, you know, particularly before Munster really kind of got on that role. they were the standard bearers of Europe, and to see them now literally where they are, it's been a gradual decline. And literally, they got Hooper, they got guys there that they thought local-wise could energise the team. Things have moved on. They're not there. I mean, the academy's not producing, and particularly pack-wise, they are vulnerable. So, look, from a Van Graan perspective, that's a big monster project that he's taken on. And these Gallagher Premiership teams, they don't think twice about sacking a manager or a head coach mid-season. You see with Harlequins last year. So it's not a long-term stability deal that Van Graan has taken on here. It's a big.
And again, I know this is all rumours and conjecture, but certainly the South African guys at Munster certainly seem to be going elsewhere, and elsewhere could very well be somewhere in England.
But then, Liam, you're going to have to contract that with the salary cap. And the way Leicester Tigers now are cooperating with the administration, the competition, the Gallagher Premiership in terms of salary cap, ever since that, Saracens, financial case, I don't think you're going to see many of those South African guys in Munster going over to Bath unless they're cut price deals, really. Because I think an awful lot of the Bath rugby guys, there will be a turnover of players, no doubt. But Damien Delende will be a marquee signing. He's not going to come cheap. I mean, you could literally argue with both. You could, literally argue about Jason Jenkins as well. It hasn't worked out injury-wise. So he probably can't assume that, but Delende would be probably a big monster, acquisition for Bath if they could get them. But I think there's far more problems than 3/4 for Bath. I think their pack really has to have a fundamental kind of branch review, really. And then you kind of take it from there, really. But no, it's interesting in terms of the Victor Matfield comments here, and because particularly with the South African angle as well, it's an interesting context in terms of those quotes there. But again, I think that's more born out of maybe frustration of Leinster's dominance, and it's that era at the moment where Leinster Rugby, they're continuing to produce high caliber players. And we're just not in that position to, really compete. Kind of, get over the line. And I mean, the fact is, we're talking about Delende here. We don't have any centre in our Munster Academy. It's really kind of speaking volumes in terms of what are we doing in terms of unearthing the next, the next big centre for us. Really. I mean, it's pretty ominous stuff at the moment in terms of Munster Academy. How we're kind of looking to shape the 3/4. We should be hopefully turning out a good homegrown, product from our academy, but that doesn't seem to be happening at the moment, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. No.
Liam, might leave it there anyway. It's been a lengthy one. So thanks for your time, and we will enjoy the fixtures over the weekend.
Yeah, we'll have a good European weekend full of rugby. Okay. Indeed.